What if I told you the reason the United States protects Israel has almost nothing to do with what you've been told? Not just religion, not just politics, and definitely not just being allies. Because if it were that simple, why would America risk global backlash, spend billions every single year, and repeatedly step into conflicts that don't directly threaten its own land? Why stay involved, no matter who's in power? There has to be something deeper, something strategic, something calculated, something built over decades, layer by layer. And once you see it, you can't unsee it. Israel isn't just another country on the map. It's not just borders and flags, it's position. It sits at one of the most important geopolitical crossroads on Earth, a narrow strip of land connecting continents, trade, and power, a place where empires once fought to control and where modern influence still collides every day, a region where a single decision can ripple across the entire global economy. And for the United States, that location changes everything. Because in geopolitics, where you are can matter more than what you are. But to understand why all of this matters, we have to go back. Back to a moment when the world was broken and a new order was just beginning to take shape. In 1948, the world was still recovering from World War II. Cities were destroyed, entire nations were exhausted, millions were gone, and the balance of global power was shifting faster than ever before. Old empires were fading, new superpowers were rising. That's when Israel was created, and almost immediately it was attacked, surrounded by hostile neighbors, outnumbered, underprepared. From day one, survival wasn't guaranteed. This wasn't just the birth of a country, it was a test of whether it could even exist. Now here's where things start to shift. The United States didn't just recognize Israel, it backed it. Because at that exact moment in history, a new kind of war had already begun, not fought with massive invasions, but with influence. The Cold War. The United States versus the Soviet Union, two superpowers competing not just for land, but for control over the future. And suddenly, the Middle East became one of the most important regions on Earth, not because of culture, not because of religion, because of oil, the fuel that powered economies, militaries, and modern life itself. Control the oil, and you influence the world. And the Soviet Union was already moving in, building alliances, expanding influence, trying to reshape the balance of power. So the United States needed something, not just presence, but leverage, not just allies, but positioning. And Israel became that foothold. Look at a map, not just casually. Really look at it. Israel sits between Africa, Asia, and Europe, near critical shipping lanes, close to the Suez Canal, one of the most important trade routes on Earth, surrounded by regions that have seen decades of instability. It's not large, but it's perfectly placed. Now imagine you're the United States. Your power is global, but your territory is far away. You need influence in this region, fast, reliable, constant. You have two choices: stretch your military across multiple countries, risking constant escalation, or have a powerful ally already there. An ally that understands the region, operates within it, responds instantly. Israel became that ally. Over time, it transformed. From a nation fighting to survive, into one of the most advanced military forces in the region. Highly trained, technologically sophisticated, continuously battle-tested in real-world conflicts. And that matters, because experience can't be simulated. For the United States, this created something incredibly valuable, a partner that could act quickly, adapt faster than most, and stabilize situations without direct US intervention every single time. But even that is still not the full picture. Because what makes this relationship powerful isn't just what Israel provides on the surface, it's what happens behind the scenes. Israel doesn't just receive support, it gives something back, something that can't be easily replaced. Intelligence, real-time, ground-level insight from one of the most complex regions in the world. Think about it. Conflicts emerge quickly, alliances shift overnight, threats evolve constantly, and Israel is right there, watching, listening, analyzing. That information flows directly into US decision-making, helping predict risks, prevent escalation, and respond faster than competitors. Then there's technology, not just weapons, but systems, missile defense platforms, cybersecurity advancements, surveillance and data analysis tools. Some of the most cutting-edge defense technologies in the world are developed in Israel and refined alongside the United States. This isn't a one-sided relationship. It's co-development, shared innovation, a feedback loop of strategy and capability. And then there's another layer most people overlook: politics. Inside the United States, and support for Israel comes from multiple directions. Strategic planners see military value, policymakers see regional stability, others see historical or cultural connections. Different reasons, same outcome, consistent support, across different administrations, across changing global conditions. All of these layers stack together. Strategy, intelligence, technology, politics, creating a relationship that's far more complex than it appears from the outside. So when you hear that America protects Israel, it's not just about friendship, it's not just about shared values, and it's definitely not just about history. It's about positioning, power, influence, but more importantly, it's about control over uncertainty. Because in geopolitics, the most dangerous thing isn't an enemy you can see, it's instability you can't predict. And Israel sits right in the middle of one of the most unpredictable regions on Earth. Israel acts as a forward presence, a strategic anchor, but also something even more critical: an early warning system. A constant set of eyes and ears inside a region where tensions can shift overnight, where one conflict can spill into another, where alliances are temporary, and where power is always being tested. For the United States, that presence creates something invaluable: proximity. Because distance is weakness in global strategy, and Israel removes that distance. It allows the US to project influence without always projecting force, to respond faster without always deploying troops, to understand what's happening before it becomes a crisis. And that changes everything. Because the Middle East isn't just another region. It's connected to global energy flows, trade routes, security networks. A disruption there doesn't stay there. It spreads. Markets react, allies react, enemies react. So having a stable, capable partner inside that environment isn't optional. It's strategic insurance. Israel becomes more than an ally. It becomes infrastructure, a fixed point in a region that rarely stands still, a place the US can rely on, even when everything else is shifting. And for the United States, losing that presence wouldn't just be a setback. It wouldn't just be political. It would be structural. It would mean losing visibility, not knowing what's coming next until it's already happening, losing speed, being forced to react instead of anticipate, losing leverage, having fewer ways to influence outcomes without escalation. And in geopolitics, those losses don't happen in isolation. They compound, because power isn't just about strength, it's about access. Access to information, access to decision-making moments, access to regions where outcomes are shaped. And even more than that, it's about awareness, knowing not just what is happening, but what is about to happen. That's where real power lives, and that's what relationships like this are built to protect. That's why, no matter how controversial things become, no matter how much pressure builds, the support rarely disappears. Because from the outside it can look like policy, but from the inside, it's strategy. Long-term strategy, the kind that isn't changed by headlines or short-term reactions, or even public opinion. Because countries don't act based on emotion, they act based on interest, layered interest, interconnected interest, calculated over decades. And Israel sits at the center of one of the most important strategic calculations the United States makes. Not because of what it is alone, but because of where it is, and what that position allows the United States to do. So the next time you hear about this alliance, don't just think about headlines, think about the map. Think about positioning. Think about power. And ask yourself, if you were running a global superpower, would you ever give that up? So if you liked this, I'll be breaking down more political topics like this. Subscribe and drop a comment on what I should cover next.